This last question, in a way, relates to everything that you've been talking about, but it focuses on what role should the Board of Education trustees properly play in collective bargaining negotiation? In other words, what is the board's proper role in collective bargaining negotiations? And the first person is Ms. Daniel. We all know about collective bargaining.
My understanding is obviously that the board hires a superintendent, and then the board is, in their capacity as board members, have to negotiate contracts with various unions. They need to be open-minded, they need to be willing to listen and to work together to have a solution so that the collective bargaining agreement, they can have a well-negotiated collective bargaining agreement. So, I think it's a long process. There's a give and take involved in negotiations. Neither party will get exactly what they want at any given time. But if there's open-mindedness and there's a willingness to work together, then you can work towards a productive collective bargaining agreement.
Thank you. Ms. Cole.
Well, one of the board's functions is to oversee negotiations and contracts between all of our bargaining units. And so that's a delicate balance there in some regards, because you want to be able to set parameters, but you're not the one necessarily who's sitting at the table doing the actual negotiation, because that can present just some very, very difficult circumstances for people. So the teachers put their negotiating people at the table. We put ours, whether that be our superintendent or whether we hire attorneys or outside counsel to negotiate for us. But we're the ones that are setting the parameters, as are the teachers, in terms of the things that we want to negotiate. And then that takes place at the table. But that's one of the critical board functions, is to oversee those negotiations, because we are financial stewards for the community, and it's being able to provide the high-quality education at a financially appropriate cost to the taxpayer. And so that is our function. We are there to do that. But it is a collaborative effort. It's everyone coming to the table. It's about being open-minded and thinking and being creative about ways we can do it. In the past, it's been very successful. We've not had to hire outside counsel. We've been able to do it with our superintendents. I'm confident that we can probably proceed that way again, as long as we each come to the table, setting our parameters, being willing, open-minded, to sit down and listen to the other side, and we can have a successful contract negotiation.
Thank you. Mr. Holt.
Yeah, it's a very good question. We as a board have sort of wrestled with that question, how actively involved we get. Clearly have a responsibility to have representatives present, whether that's the superintendent and sometimes the business manager, as well as counsel of call for. We have also had circumstances in the past where we have had participation directly from the board in different levels of negotiation. It's sort of funny over time. Sometimes the board is viewed by the other side as an asset to bring in, and sometimes they're not so sure. So it can be sort of a mixed bag. No question that there has to be a level of trust between both sides for the process to advance. You don't want it to become so formalized that you end up having his lawyer arguing with your lawyer. Also, it's a very inexpensive and inefficient process. So we have striven wherever possible to try to keep it a little bit less formalistic and a little bit more, we're all part of the same community. We all recognize that while we're representing our respective interests, we also have a common interest in providing a collegial atmosphere where we don't have to see protests and other indications that the two sides can't get along. We and we ultimately want I think we all ultimately want what's best for the kids. So we as a board put a lot of confidence in our superintendent. We spend a lot of time, this is my third superintendent, as I've indicated now, we spend a lot of time picking those superintendents and making sure that they're quality people. And I think Brian's definitely stepping up and has a very bright future in that role. And ultimately, we are going to work through our representatives, provide hopefully the proper guidance, hopefully a reflection of overall what we believe the community is seeking and what the community can bear to help support those negotiations.
Thank you. Mr. Wood.
If I understand, what position does the board take in collective bargaining? As Ms. Colbert said, the board sets the parameters. The board is the steering wheel. The board decides what's important to be negotiated, what the parameters are, what the areas of concern are. So, in my opinion, the board is the most important entity for the district and for the community in the negotiations, whether it be through the superintendent or through appointed attorneys to do the negotiation. They are working for the board to come through with the most fiscally responsible and community acceptable contracts for both sides. And you don't want to have animosity. You can't go in there with extreme wants and concessions, and concessions mean give and take on both sides. There has to be that. You can't have animosity like there are in other types of negotiations with not just the teachers union, but any other civil service union associated with the district. So, like I said, and that's why these are elected positions, so the community can put people into these positions that they feel speak for them in the policies made for the district and the negotiations for the collective bargaining.
Thank you.